Good evening. How are you?
Very good evening. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you. So my name is Divyam. Welcome to your Clapingo session.
Yes, I know. I think everyone already knows about you. I used to watch your videos earlier, like 2 years ago, when I joined clapping with it.
Thank you so much. That is really sweet.
Yeah, but
Okay.
you might not know about me, so let me give you a brief introduction about me. My name is Karishma. I'm talking to you from Gurgaon. I hail from Delhi. I've completed all my education there. And professionally, I'm an advocate. I'm also mother of two children. And apart from that, I have a YouTube channel. That's all.
That's lovely. That's a lovely resume you have going over there. Awesome. So Karishma, do you have any specific topic you would like to talk about?
Yes.
Go
Let's
ahead.
talk
Why don't you?
about my weakness today, which is the past tense. Most of the time, most often, I make mistakes when I talk about my past. So let's discuss something about that, or you can deal it in your own way.
Okay. And how would you like to be corrected?
You can correct me. That's again your choice.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll let you finish your sentence or your answer, and then I'll give you small corrections, and I'll give you a small summary at the end of the session. Okay.
Right.
Awesome. Um, let's test this. Why don't you? What topic can I give you? Can you give me a list of your hobbies?
Stop my hobbies. My hobby is to talk with different people from diverse backgrounds every time. And that's how YouTube become my passion because I love to connect with people. And apart from that, I love to start reading. I love to read books. Recently, I have just started reading books. So I like it. These two
Okay.
things.
So books, conversations, YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. How about this? Why don't you share your story of how you started your YouTube channel? What inspired you? What gave you the idea to start your YouTube channel?
But that's an interesting question because it's the Clapingo itself who had given me this idea of posting videos on YouTube channel because the time I have started my journey, at that time I was not really good with my communication. I used to make a lot of grammatical errors at that time. So I have seen a few videos of clapping people at that moment. So I feel very motivated at that time that, okay, I should also talk to these people. There are tutors and, they will help you to grow in your English journey. That's when I joined Clapingo and had a few sessions with the tutors and start uploading them. So the moment I start uploading my videos, I start getting good response from the people because people really want to watch those kinds of conversation which are like basically uh, beginner level conversation because at that moment I was an absolute beginner. So I did not even know how to speak properly. So that's how people like it, and that motivated me to create my solo videos, another content, and I start sharing my things that how I have learned English. The time when I started my YouTube channel, half of my journey was already completed. But when it connected with the tutors on Clapingo, that's when I've realized, okay, I'm not even in the half. I'm still the beginner and I have to learn a lot of things. So since then, I was in touch with the tutors, sometimes on Clapingo, sometimes I used to talk with my subscribers, other YouTubers. This is how my journey was begun. And it's been 2 years. I am still consistent. I tried to be consistent always, no matter how many difficulties I have faced in my past. Till now, I'm consistent. I'm still working on my improvement. The areas where I feel problems still is the past, as I've mentioned. And apart from that, I feel that I have a lack of vocabulary. So the reason might be that I don't read books. Sorry, I didn't read books in my past. Now, recently, I've started. So the time when I've started reading books, I can see visible improvements even in my vocabularies. Yeah. So that's how my journey has been.
Okay. So when you say you had an issue, I mean you're facing an issue with vocabulary. Do you mean vocab when you say vocabulary, do you mean not using good enough words or not being able to understand the words that other people are using?
No, I'm not using enough words. I do understand everything.
Okay, so then I don't think there's a vocabulary issue because see,
Okay.
unless you have a specific target that you want to improve your English for your professional life, I think vocabulary, it's good to know a lot of words. But if you try to use too many complicated words, big words, or fancy sounding words, it'll just make other people feel you're trying to show off, which we don't want to do. The whole
That's
point of communication is so that you can share your ideas and people can understand what you're saying. But if they have in their mind that Karishma is trying to show off, Karishma is trying to show that she is a better speaker than us, then they will have this negative mindset and they will not want to listen to you, which defeats the purpose of learning how to communicate, right?
I used to think the same like you were telling me, but you know what is the result of that? People start telling me that Karishma, you have been learning English from last 2 years and still you are on the same level. You are not improving. You are still using that basic vocabulary. So that's when I feel that okay, I'm not doing good. I think I should do something for improvement of my vocabulary. My personal perspective is also the same. Like we should use the minimum vocabulary, basic vocabulary, which can be understandable by the beginners also. Like that is the only benefit of communication. If both people are understanding without effort, without putting any extra efforts. But people demand this because English is going on some other level these days. I have seen people using very hi-fi English, which is, out of my reach personally. I'm not talking about others, but I'm not able to understand sometimes few words like the English which is spoken by the Bollywood stars. That's really difficult. So I don't want to reach that level, but still I want to use some good, nice words so that I sound professional. That's what my motive is.
Right. So the people who told you that you've not improved in English or like you've not improved your vocabulary in the last 2 years,
Right.
were they your like family members, friends, or co-workers?
My subscribers most of the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So in this case, what I would like to say is I think you and I have similar views in terms of keeping it simple. But you said I want to keep my vocabulary basic. So I'm not saying speak at a beginner level. I'm saying keep it simple. There are a lot of words that you can use, like instead of saying it is difficult, you can say that it is quite infuriating to learn these words, or it is quite, hectic to find the schedule, right? So hectic, all these words are basically simple. They're not basic vocabulary level. Just give me a second. I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
Is all
So,
okay?
yeah, all good. Like I was saying, we want to make sure that we understand these words, we learn these words, but we're not trying to be a beginner, right? We're trying to use simple language. So a lot of good communicators, public speakers, they're able to use complex words, but they choose to share their stories in simple words so that a lot of people can understand what they're saying. A lot of people can support their vision or support their business, whatever the idea is for the presentation itself, right? So yes, you should learn a lot of words, but you have to be very careful about where to use them, right? How the receiver is going to react to that particular way of communication. I think that is important, right? So one thing I would say is if you're trying to learn something that is industry specific, like vocabulary words for lawyers, you can use a lot of tools like Google and ChatGPT, where you can go up to these platforms and say, I need 5 words every day, right? Now, once you get these 5 words, you will see how they pronounce these words, right? Repeat the pronunciation about 3 or 4 times before you note them down in your book or your journal. Find the definitions, find examples, right? So you do 5 of these every day, and in about 3 or 4 months, you'll see the difference. All right. Now, in terms of the grammar, the tense issue that you told me, right? The reason I asked you about your YouTube career, I mean, YouTube journey, is because I wanted you to share the story in the past tense, right? So I noticed that you are making these mistakes, but I feel like you know the grammar part of it. Like you've studied a lot, right? But you're just not able to execute the learning,
Property.
if I'm not wrong. I can see that
Right.
because a lot of times you're saying something which is slightly incorrect, but then the next sentence or like the next answer, you're saying the correct version of it. So you know it,
Yes.
but
I,
it just seems like there is some issue in the execution part. Okay. So I usually, this is a very common advice I give to people. I would say take some time, make sure that for the next 2 or 3 months, you slow down your talking speed by about 20%. What you're doing is you're trying to throw out a lot of content at a high speed, but then what happens is your filters don't have time to activate in your mind. What am I saying? Is that correct? Is that accurate? Right? Because right now, I think a couple of minutes ago, you said something and you instantly stopped and then you corrected yourself. Right?
right.
Yeah. So if you know, if you look at the recordings, this is what I usually tell my learners, go through the recording and see where you made the mistake, what are the common patterns. So in your case, I would say the speed is that, because I think at home or at work, people in your native, in your mother tongue, they speak at a very high pace, if I'm not wrong, right? So reduce your speed, give yourself time. You already know everything. Okay. At least in terms of the tense part, I'm saying the vocabulary part we can work on, no problem. Right. And when you're reading books, don't read books from a certain genre. Like, do you read thrillers or drama or something like that?
I read novels like self-help books and
Okay.
sometimes even romantic novels also.
Awesome. So if it's possible, I would suggest have a collection, or maybe you can take a membership from a library. I don't know what the resources are available for you over there, right? Rent something, rent a book from a different genre, because as you change genres, the way you absorb vocabulary and sentence formation and storytelling, it changes your brain a lot, right? I'll give you an example. So self-help books is one author trying to talk to you, right? So it's first person to second person, right? Whereas in, again, this is a hypothetical, like a random example, in a romantic novel or in a drama, it could be that the person is talking in the past tense, they're talking to a third person, they're self-narrating the story, right? And especially in novels where there's murders, like detective novels, romance novels, what they'll do is they use a lot of adjectives, right? So let's say there's a story in which like there's a boyfriend who's trying to murder his girlfriend for whatever reason, right? The author will very he'll use a lot of words to explain
Describe
the
that
scene to you.
particular.
Yeah, exactly. Describe the scene to you. Like the boyfriend walked through the rain while you could hear his steps,
Right.
heavily pounding against the dirt as he walked towards her with a sharp knife in his hand, So, like, they're using a lot of words. So, what happens is when you're trying to read and you're like sort of imagining that scene happen, like you're trying to picture it in your brain, it sort of activates this thing in your mind that in a week or a month, you're sharing a story with a friend, right? Even if it's a hypothetical story or you're creating a story of your own, you will be able to sort of visualize it. And what happens is when you visualize it in your mind, that picture, you'll see something and you'll want to use words to describe it to that person. So it's a
Right.
lot of reverse engineering, it's a lot of experimenting. So I would say keep trying new things, right? Even if you don't have time to do new genres or you don't want to invest in new books, everything is available online. I think there are a lot of free books available online. Find something that's just 50 pages or 100 pages, something simple, a free book online, right? From a different genre, just to see if that is a taste that you would like. And then maybe invest actual money in a book or something, right? So you have a lot of options over there. That's why in this generation, it's so easy to develop a skill because we
Uh,
have so many resources available.
yes, absolutely agree. Even I can resonate with this thing because whenever I read novel from Chetan Bhagat, actually lost in visualization. I start visualizing those things that happening in front of me. And sometimes when I'm thinking about that story during night or
Slow down, slow down.
maybe before sleeping,
Yeah.
so I try to elaborate that story in my own words and try to think new words to describe it, and that's completely true. So I haven't tried so many like different genres. If I talk about books, it's like limited to the self-help or romantic novels. But yes, I think many tutors they suggested me to go ahead and read some fictional books, thrillers, suspense. So yeah, I'll do that, and I
Yeah,
try to reduce my speed also.
yeah. So I used to do this earlier when a lot of learners, I used to have regular sessions with them. I would have some sort of hand signal or some sort of signal where I don't talk to interrupt them, but I just let them know that, hey, reduce your speed, or if it's an error, like let's say you're making a past tense error. I earlier what I would do is I would raise my pen and be like, if I raise my pen, you have to pause and think what mistake you made. I am not going
Okay.
to talk and interrupt you. Okay. So what I'm trying to do when I do this is I'm trying to install like a red light in their brain. So when they make the mistake, the light is like, oh my God, mistake, 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 So then they have to stop, correct it, and then rephrase the sentence or restart the answer. So what you have to do is you have to have that mentality where you speak at a decent speed where your brain has time to continue, right? But when we're typing it around 80 or 100 words a minute, like a really good person who can type. But when we're speaking, that number can triple or even quadruple. So it takes our brain some time to process this information. So give it some time, and I think you should be completely fine because it's not like you don't know what you're saying. You know absolutely what you're saying. It's a very small sample size, but even now, when you reduced your speed, you use words like resonate, you use words that I think you are more comfortable using right now. This is basically your
Yes.
target vocabulary, I
I
would
have
say.
recently learned all these words.
Yeah, so give yourself time to use them, no problem. So just trial and error. Don't stop. I mean, don't stop learning new words. Keep learning new words and slow down and give yourself time to use these words. Okay, these words, give yourself time to put these corrections, these filters that there are certain words that I use to explain it to people. So for me, it's like a filter. Like if you pour too much water through the filter, then everything is going to go out the sides. Slow down, let the filter do its work. Let it purify the grammar part of it.
Okay.
I know it's a stupid
Okay.
example, but I just use it to easily explain it to people. All
Sure.
right. So, Karishma, I would say two things you have to work on, like you said. Hmm. Execution of vocabulary, that is more important than getting the knowledge of vocabulary. Like you have to
Right.
keep learning, but the priority is improving the execution. Okay. And the second thing is your past tense, which I think you know the rules and the grammar of it. Usually in my sessions, I don't talk about grammar rules because I tell them to look at a video when they're done with the session. I don't want to waste time sitting explaining all these things because there are a lot of people who are doing it much better online. And you don't have to pay for the online video. It's a free video.
Right.
So what I usually tell them is how to do it. And I think I've given you a couple of exercises to work on. These exercises you have to do for at least 1 month. I know this sounds very annoying. It's a very slow process,
Okay.
okay? But your reduced speed, improving past tense, and execution of vocabulary, these three things, just work on it for 1 month and you'll see the difference by yourself.
1 month is fine. I can.
Yep, so then do that. Make sure you're actively following this journey, okay? Don't just after 2 weeks be like, okay, I'm following now, I'll just take a break.
No, no.
I know it's very easy to not be disciplined in this sense. And a lot of people online, they're so obsessed with instant results, right? People need to understand that this is a slow process. Like when you need to get abs, you don't just go to the gym for 2 days and then come back home and eat potato chips on the sofa, right? You have to eat healthy, you have to sleep right, you have to work out, you have to stretch, you have to sort of manage your calories and energy. So it's a long process. It may not happen in a week or two, but in a couple of months, you'll see slowly what the difference is. And in 1 or 2 years, you'll reach your target depending on what the target is.
Right. I understand. I have a lot of patience. I have been here like on YouTube for last 2 years and not getting good growth, but I'm still here. It's because of my passion. So I have that patience level, and I'm still learning. Like it's been more than 2 years. The journey I've started, it was like in 2021 or 22 something. Now it's 25 and I'm still learning. I still make mistakes. So I know that it's a very slow process, especially for the people who are working, like don't not getting much time to spend on learning. Like being a housewife, being a mother, I hardly get time to spend on learning. So that's why I accept this fact. Okay, I do not have time to spend, so it will work gradually. I won't go from this step to this step just like within a few days. It's not going to possible in my case, especially. Maybe the people or student who are free, they can devote hours on learning and they can get instant result. But not that instant. Obviously, it will take minimum 2-3 months to understand English from
It'll
the
be
basic or
faster,
from the
not instant.
scratch.
Yeah. So again, just a clarification. When I say be patient, I didn't mean you. I can see that you have been patient and you're putting in the work. I meant like
Yes.
because you're going to post this video and the tips are going to be used by
No,
everybody,
yes.
right? I meant in general, in life, these things take some time. If you want the correct results, I would say. I didn't mean that you don't have patience at all. Don't
No,
don't
even I
misunderstand what I'm
didn't
saying.
mean to say that. I was just giving my explanation that I'm a kind of person who is working for so long, like on this particular thing, like on
Mhm.
English. And my audience is always ready to know these kinds of tips because these tips like kind motivate people. Because sometimes people lose their motivation while working on the journey. They feel that okay, I'm not improving, so let's quit it. It's not my cup of tea. But when
Yeah,
we hear these kinds of things from a tutor, we realize okay, so it is the process, it is going to take some time, so we have to have some patience and work positively or patiently.
definitely.
Yes.
Awesome. So I think we're running out of time. We have
Okay.
about how much time? We have about 30 seconds left, if I'm not wrong.
Okay.
It was lovely talking to you. Thank you so much. I've already explained to you, like I've given you a summary of whatever I think you need to work on.
Right.
Uh, Hopefully I'll be able to see you soon. We'll work on a couple of other things as well, right?
Definitely. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for your time. It was lovely meeting you, and hopefully I'll see you soon.
Yeah, see you. Bye.
Bye bye.